The Duke is obviously claiming innocence and protesting his innocence, but he's involved now, Ian. He's obviously decided he's got to show up in some way.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, he is maintaining his innocence, and if you are doing that, you want the best lawyer on your side. And this guy, by his reputation, is one of the best lawyers in this area. But of course, anybody in this area carries a bit of baggage with them, and he is representing maybe one or two other characters that Prince Andrew might feel a little bit squeamish about being alongside.
I'm fascinated by this case, Shay, because he must claim he didn't sleep with Virginia Roberts because she would have been 17 at the time. His Newsnight interview defence is, I never met her. Mm-hmm. We have a photo of them.
Yeah.
So he's on shaky ground here. Where do you think it goes?
I at this point think everybody is very much looking towards the media, and I really don't believe in trial by media. So at this point, I just want to see what unfolds when it comes to the courts and actually see what his best lawyer does versus her best lawyer. Because I think you're absolutely right. When we saw the Newsnight interview, I don't even think he could deny that that was very, very damaging. Since then, there's a lot that's been coming out. At this point, I'm not sure myself. I think you're right. It is shaky ground, but I'm not going to try and predict the future.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Graham? Is it a story that you run in the Birmingham Mail? This awful business?
Yeah, because everyone cares about it. And actually, just to counter that view, and what I sort of read into when I read this story is that he's a tremendously wealthy person and he can afford the absolute best lawyers. I think trial by media is all that we have with Andrew at the moment. I think it's distasteful the way that wealthy people could be better represented than others. And I just sort of hope, at the end, who knows who's guilty or whatever, but just hope that. That the law actually is able to do its job in the end.
Yeah, and it's all to agree with Graham and disagree with Shay, which I hardly dare to do. Without the New York Times, you wouldn't have had the exposure of Weinstein.
Yeah, I agree. But that's not what I'm talking about. Exposure is one thing. And I think absolutely that is why I believe in freedom of speech. And that is why I believe that our journalists do the best job that they can. What I'm talking about is when we are following a case day by day, week by week. And essentially, straight away, we can see the polls on social media. We can see people already saying he's guilty. We can see the memes saying that. Sure. And my point is it's an ongoing investigation. I'm not talking about exposure, an ongoing investigation. I just want to see what happens in the courts and where it goes.
Yeah, how interesting. Because I know you nodded as well and said, oh, Shay's right. But actually, if the guy won't go near a courtroom and he decides to defend himself on Newsnight, I'm sorry, this is now trial by media. That's what you've brought on, chum.
Well, you are right on that. But the problem is that none of us have the facts at our fingertips.
Exactly.
We can all have views on whether he's guilty or not. Because, I mean, whenever there's any trial, people will immediately jump to one conclusion or another.
That's right.
But on a programme like this, and I know you're not asking
Well, not like this. We're not trying it here.
But there will be other programmes where people like us go on these programmes. They will, of course, he's guilty as hell. Anyone can see that. Well, you're not guilty until you've been found guilty. And obviously, he is going to use the maximum extent of the law to defend himself.
Or to avoid the court. And the other thing is,
Well,
people
he's
can be
not doing
guilty
that, though,
without
now.
being found guilty. And we think of Fred West, Jimmy Savile, for example. There are people who are, it doesn't take a court always to find a person guilty. Okay, he defends himself. He says he's innocent. We will see. Let's see where we are in 5 years' time.